call the regular meeting of the Amherst Board of Education to order, please. Pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Mr. Jacobozzi.
Here.
Mr. Zappa.
Here.
Mr. Engel.
Here.
Mrs. Gillis. Here. Mrs. Neidert. Here.
Entertain a motion to accept the agenda as presented, including any and all addendums thereto.
So moved.
Is there a second? Discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Engel.
Aye.
Mrs. Gillis. Aye. Mrs. Neidert.
Aye.
Mr. Zappa.
Aye.
Mr. Jacobozzi.
Aye. On to the good news report. Anybody want to make the introduction?
Sure, thank you, Mr. Jacobozzi. As the board's aware, we've been fortunate to develop a number of very beneficial partnerships over the last few years. And just this last week, we were able to bring closure to a certain aspect of a partnership that we have with UH, and actually something that's been in the works for about 2 years. So at this time, I think what we want to do is introduce Kim Haney. Kim was actually the driving force and the one that kind of brought this to fruition, and again, kind of a portion of a partnership that we've had in place, and I know you've been working on for 2 to 3 years now, and life happened over these last couple of years, so unfortunately it's all worked out. Kim,
Yeah.
It's all yours.
Well, I was reflecting on how we stumbled into just under $35,000 worth of emergency kits. And Steve and I, a few years ago, were invited to a UH, University Hospital, had a wellness committee. If you remember the
Yes.
citywide wellness committee. So when you're on wellness committees, sometimes you get invited to other wellness committees. And we were invited to UH when they bought Amherst Hospital, and they said, we want to talk to people in the community, kind of find out what the pulse is. And that's where we ran into Dan Ellenberger. And he is responsible at UH for all the emergency services. And teaching what I teach, I kind of zoned in on him, like he could really help me. Like he could teach stuff, and I can connect with his paramedics. And I believe it's House Bill 113 started to come to fruition, which is where students had to have an hour of CPR training to graduate. So he was a very valuable resource. So we just started talking and connecting. He sent his paramedics out and taught 2 years ago a Stop the Bleed presentation. And what Stop the Bleed is, it's what CPR used to be 10 years ago when everybody was trying to teach CPR and learn CPR to save a life. Well, unfortunately, again, series of events, mass shootings and the such, we discovered CPR isn't cutting it, and we need to implement combat style of medicine, which is teach people how to stop bleed outs. So Stop the Bleed was established, and so then that led to us, the paramedics trained my students. Then I said, how about training the staff? Which led to the whole staff getting trained. When the staff got trained, it qualified us to receive a free bucket of supplies per each classroom. So we were moving along with it, and then COVID hit, and that was kind of the last we heard of it. I invited Ken and Rich, who are the paramedics that we've become pretty good friends with, that are just fantastic professional men and paramedics. They're just wonderful. And they were out a couple weeks ago, and Ken was like, do you have the buckets? And I'm like, what buckets? You never got them. He goes, well, that's not gonna, we gotta fix that. So within a week, and Janet was involved, I'm like, I need numbers now, and I need it approved. We had 265 buckets delivered to Steele High School. In the bucket, it's valued at about $125, $130. You will have everything in there from hemostatic dressing, tourniquets, to toilet paper, glucose, water. So these are buckets that each room in the school district has one in case somebody is locked down in the room. So we're very fortunate that they have this generous gift. So thank you. Any questions, or we're good?
Oh, thank you for all your hard work.
Thanks.
Yes, thanks, Kim. All right.
Thank you very much. Again, I can't say enough what a wonderful job Kim has done with this partnership through the years, and just kind of persevering and working through these last couple of years. And we were hoping that this would happen a couple of years ago, but it did come to fruition, and it is a great thing to have these buckets in each of our classrooms across the district, transportation, board office. So it's obviously a big part of our safety protocol, procedures, and plans. So again, Kim, thank you so much.
You
We
know what,
appreciate all you've done.
can we get a picture of her with the bucket? So
That'd be
Jan, can you
great.
take a picture of Kim with the bucket? Kim, we
Kim?
want a picture of the with the bucket. Yes.
Do you want me to send it to anybody in
Yeah.
particular?
Yes. Go stand over there.
Am I going to send it to somebody in particular? Okay, you can. I'm going to send
Yes.
one.
No, I don't want to be in it.
Oh no, you're getting it. I will send it to a special person in my life.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you again. And then the next, if we wanted to move on to the next
Please.
one, Mr. Tellier and I were talking last week about how nice it is to again have a full marching band season, unlike we had last year. We talked about how nice it was. We had in-person concerts for choir, I think 2 weeks ago, and then we had orchestra this past Thursday. So we just thought we'd take a little bit of time and recognize and acknowledge the good work that our music programs are doing. So, Mr. Tellier, it's all yours.
Absolutely, and I won't talk too much because I brought two-thirds of our music department with us. Davis and Jan couldn't make it, so he apologizes, but he did leave me a little message, so I will read that. But we have Chris Barbera, our band director, and Eric Watts, our choir director, with us. And as Steve said, we both, Chris has had, it's been great weather, 9 out of the 10 Friday nights, and of course I'm not going to steal his thunder. I'm going to let him talk about where he's headed this weekend. But I think it was Eric Watts during his concert that it has been a heck of a year and a half, and I think he said this is the first time we have had parents and family face to face since 2020. And I know we all know that, but it just kind of resonated. Wow, we have been in this a while. So, without further ado, I will turn it over to them. But I first wanted to share with you, Davison Jan is our orchestra director and did just a phenomenal job. And like I said, he just wanted to share these sentiments of, what he's observed this year. So this is me quoting Davison Jan. Talking to the parents at the orchestra concert last Thursday, I could see how excited and happy they were, not only to be at the concert, but also to witness just how much our students have improved. In such hard times lately, with everything going on in the world, I have seen firsthand what my students have been able to accomplish and what they're coping with, and how many different feelings they finally been able to have. I look forward to things becoming more normal. Many thanks to the community and the board for supporting our music program. So that's for Mr. Jan, and I'll bring Eric and Chris up and let them talk about their programs.
Joe, before we move on, I was at the concert and Mr. Sayers and I were talking about how exciting it is. The senior class was the 5th grade class we started the orchestra program with.
That's right,
And
yeah.
how great it is to see that it is now gone all the way
Yeah, fully phased in.
from where we started back in, when they were in 5th grade and we had people donating violins and everything like that. And
Seems
to
like-
actually see a real orchestra setting up in front of us was amazing.
It seems like just yesterday.
Yeah.
And not that they took that for granted, but their freshman year, they just thought we're going to be here 3 more years, and luckily, at least the seniors, they have it, because they lost out on that as sophomores and juniors, so. Eric.
Thank you. So yeah, I was very happy, for Ms. Tellier to invite us here to be able to kind of share just how great it's been. And when I was on stage at our concert and kind of in the promotion of it as well, we realized that it had been 19 months from our previous concert. 19 months that these students, and particularly with the vocal program, they literally had not sung with another group of students for that period of time. Last year, especially around Christmas, you may have seen some of our virtual videos that we made, which were wonderful, and it was a lot of fun to go through that process. But at the end of the day, those students were sitting alone in their rooms with headphones, just staring at their phone to make the video recording, and then we do all the magic of putting it together. So they lost out on that incredible opportunity to be with their classmates making music. And I think for me, when we really, the first day that we started this year, you could see and feel from the students what they had missed and how grateful they were to be back doing what they were doing. Because for these students, especially when we think about performances, this is just like an athletic event for Friday night football, or Saturday morning meets, or playoffs, whatever it might be. Being able to be on stage, standing side by side with their classmates, and putting on these public performances, that's what they do for a lot of them. And many of those students expressed to me how they didn't really realize how much it was affecting them to have lost that. And I think to be back in performances has just been a tremendous thing. I know there was a day in our preparation in the classroom when we're really starting to have things come together that, I kind of froze at the end of rehearsal, and they were all kind of waiting for me to say something. I said, guys, I have nothing to say right now. I'm just so happy to be doing this again. And we had many of those moments on stage as well. It was just so extraordinary, and I'm sure Chris feels the same in Davison, to be on stage with these students just making music. There's nothing like it. And so we appreciate, of course, all of your support as always, and we're so grateful to be performing. And I know we're really excited for our holiday performances, our alumni concert coming right around the corner for the choir program. And again, we just appreciate your support, and hope to see you at some of the upcoming concerts.
When is the Christmas concert?
I want to make sure I have the date right,
Okay.
so I'm going to double check it. I think it's the 13th.
Monday, right?
December 13th. That is a Monday night.
Okay.
Second Monday, and location to be determined. We are no longer performing at the Palace. Our fall concert was in the cafetorium, and it was wonderful, and it was extraordinary, and we thank the theater department for sharing the stage, our incredible tech department for making it happen from a sound aspect. But as Mr. Tellier and I were talking afterwards, he said there's just not enough room for an alumni concert when we have everybody else in. So we're running down some leads on where that'll be, but we'll be sure to publicize.
You did a
that for you.
fabulous job,
So-
because I was at that concert.
Oh, thank you.
Yes,
Thank you
it was
very
great.
much. Thanks.
Thank you, Eric,
So,
for your
yeah,
leadership.
Thank you.
Thanks for inviting me. It's being a part of blogs and Facebook groups with band directors all across the nation. There are schools that are in dire straits right now where they've lost their entire program, or they still have their program but only 25% of the students made it through and stuck with it, kind of thing. So I was happy just knowing that we were successful at doing what we did last year in that unprecedented kind of way with the 12-week program. And I take it back to the kids. We did a lot of social emotional learning and talking last year about, if you're going to go through this and go through this with us this year, you have to do band next year because it's going to be completely different. And the biggest challenge was talking to the freshmen last year about what you witnessed this year in band was not band. So if you're going to make a decision this year on whether you want to do band or not, don't. Just do it again. You'll be blown away. And I think the biggest takeaway is those sophomores now who are just in love with band, because everything that makes band and music great, because while the music is great, the other half of it is the socializing and getting together for the non-band stuff, which makes the band stuff more special. And I think that's really what hit home for us. We had a really good band camp. We made adjustments with our show, and we met the kids where they're at and said that's what's going to happen. That's what's going to make them successful. And we never thought we would have the success that we've been having. We were the humbled guys coming in going, well, we just want to qualify for state. We don't care what place we come in. So at the first show, when we came off the field, they just did great. To the point where, like Eric said, it hits you hard after that first concert. So we file out of the stadium, and I pull them all together. I go up on the steps outside of the gym or something, and they're just all around me, looking at me, waiting for me, like they said, with Eric, waiting. And I couldn't get a word out because I started bawling because it was just that awesome that they did that well. And some kid was like, wait a minute, did we do bad? So I got out, no, these are tears of joy. I love you guys did great, we're back. And you know, our motto this year was we're back, we're ready. And that's the way it was. And to come out at Grand Champions there, Grand Champions then at Avon Lake, and we heard our competition. It wasn't Grand Champions because we were going somewhere where, you know, everybody was Division III bands. We knocked off some pretty hefty bands. And then this last weekend, coming home with Grand Champion too was great. So next week we go to state. So I think that's really the biggest impact, is everybody just feels, okay, this is what band is about. This is what we're supposed to be doing. And it's been a great year. And kudos to the senior class, because they're really what's behind a lot of our success this year. And they're so into band and so into doing things and getting back to normal. We have 100% going to Disney. You know, so that nobody chose not to go to Disney. So it's just a pretty amazing time. So we're very thankful, and we're very thankful for your support, and again for inviting us here to talk about some of the good things that are happening. So Saturday's it. Saturday's the last time. And this is weird because, you know, OSHA extended it backwards, so we actually have a whole week of band without a game, which is kind of weird. But the kids know we have a job.
You'll be off Friday night, right?
We will be off Friday.
Getting ready for Saturday.
Kids ask me, we're going to practice Friday? I'm like, we're not going to practice on Friday. So thank you very much.
Well,
Appreciate it.
thank you, Chris. Thank you. Again, thank you to everyone, Mr. Tellier, Mr. Watts, Mr. Barbera, and I know Mr. Yon couldn't be here this evening, but again, appreciate your work and leadership, and just so proud of the music program. Keep up the good work. Thank you. All right, and now we're on to Nord.
Yes.
Good news report.
Thanks so much for
Ms.
having us tonight.
Giovinazzo, it's all yours.
Yeah. So I brought Mr. Sispansky, Brian Sispansky, our Dean of Students, with us as well to talk about some of the great things that we have going on at Nord. And this year our focus was really to, you know, welcome students back and greet everybody and get some opportunities to connect with kids more than we felt like we really got the chance to do last year with all the different things that were going on because of COVID and all the restrictions that we had. So we really wanted to take the time to really get to spend time with kids and do things that we weren't able to do last year and celebrate those things. So we just have a compilation of some of the things that we've done this year and then some academic things that are new to us as well. So this was how we started the year. We really wanted to focus on our kind of Comet Impact Initiative, which is kind of what our PBIS program was called last year. So we've kind of given it a name of Comet Impact, and this was a big assembly that we did at the beginning of the year. We played The Price is Right, and we had kids bid on all sorts of products, and then we had a showcase showdown at the end, and the grand prize was a bunch of different Comet things, and then a season pass to Cedar Point was what we gave away, and kids had to bid on their things. And then to follow that up, we played did different activities in the classroom that were talked about the price of your actions. And so that's kind of how we tied it all together to really talk about how our choices matter and what happens with our choices and what those are worth. So this was one of the activities, and you can see Mr. Hermensky was our Bob Barker. That's who I like to call it still. It's not really, I forget who, Drew Harry. I'm really a Bob Barker person. Yeah. So he was our Bob Barker. And then our winners over there to the right, she won our Showcase Showdown. So that was a really fun activity for everybody to kind of start our year.
And yeah, so then I came in, and I appreciate Mrs. Giovinazzo's flexibility with my crazy ideas, because some of them were crazy. So we implemented our Fist Bump Fridays. So it was just a way to connect with kids, greet every single one of them with a fist bump. It initially started out with just some music playing, and you know, Mrs. Kramer and Mrs. Giovinazzo and I out there greeting kids, and then it soon evolved into we have matching shirts that we have that says Fist Bump Friday, and we've had some special guests, as you can see over there, Mrs. Snyder. And then I don't know how we missed this, but we had a costume of a bear dancing up and down the halls and in the front parking lot and getting on buses. So it was a great time. I can't take credit for it. I stole this from somebody else, another administrator in the area, which they do. But it's just, again, it's a great time to individually greet the kids, make some eye contact, build that rapport with them first thing Friday morning, And then we've also started, just the music. I think the music helps get them in the right mindset. Just walking into the door, getting that excitement up. So we've even started, we call it Music Monday, Move It Mondays, anything like that. But we have music playing as they come into the buildings on Mondays as well.
Did you have the video of you guys on your springy shoes that day?
Oh yeah, we had jumping shoes. What were those? The
Yeah,
Kanka
I don't know,
shoes
they're
or
called
something
Kanka
like that.
shoes. Mrs. Chivik teaches, who's our guidance counselor this year, teaches a like an aerobics class with those. So she brought in boots for Brian and myself to jump with her for a day, and so we jumped for the entire time the kids were
So
coming.
it kind of morphs into.
Yeah. So it's just, we're looking for our next big thing. So if you
Anybody has any
have
connections?
anything better than a bear suit,
Let
which
us
is where we
know.
left off last week, we're looking for those things.
Right.
Oh, I got all kinds of costumes for you.
Mr. Herminsky or Dancing Bear?
He was not. No, he was
There's
not.
still people trying to figure out who it was.
The mask.
I know who it was.
Yeah, the mask
Because
dancer.
she told me I missed it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was fun. So, and then Mr. Sospansky also thought that it would be great to do these positive phone calls home. So teachers nominate students every week, or anytime they want to. So we make calls all the time whenever we get something that comes in. We take their picture and then we have it posted on our wall down in the lobby for anybody that we called home for. And it really seems to be something that parents really enjoy. It seems so simple, but they get so excited when they get a phone call and hear something great about their kids. So.
And again, that kind of stemmed from the high school, still from you guys, because we're always pushing to our teachers, like, recognize the positives, right? Recognize the positives, the positive behaviors. So we were like, how awesome is that? It takes about 2 minutes to call a parent and make such a huge impact to call the kid down and get the picture taken and get that acknowledgement.
And then I brought this from a district that I was at, walk arena recess. So like when we're looking for things to do in the winter, so we said we would implement this twice a week, and we had a rain day one day that we were able to do it earlier than we were anticipating doing that. But we took our music again and went down, so it kind of runs like Skate World. And so we call out things that we want you to do, whether it be the limbo, or we're walking backwards, or, wall walking, or like anything that we can call out for them. And Mr. Sosansky and myself and Mrs. Kramer, try to be down and run that for the students during recess so that we get the opportunity to spend time with them as well. And it went pretty well, so we're looking forward to doing it again, upping our playlists. This week we had bullying prevention, so which is this month is bullying prevention. So we have Mrs. Kramer sent out a lesson for everybody to do, and then we had them sign our bullying pledge. And then Wednesday we'll be wearing our pajamas to school for putting bullying to rest to kind of wrap up the month. And we also got to go to Camp Fitch this year, which we didn't get to do last year, and it was so great to be back. The kids were really looking forward to the experience, and Camp Fitch was so great they didn't do this for COVID, but it kind of seems like it worked out really well because we used to sleep a bunch of kids in a lodge, and now they built these open air ships that kids were sleeping in. And aside from the fact that there were a lot of spiders in these open air ships, that it was a great experience because there were only so many kids on a side. It was open air, so there wasn't any kind of germs staying inside with windows and that kind of stuff. And the kids really seemed to enjoy that kind of experience, and getting to go to camp and all the lessons that they taught and all the team building that they worked on was really great to be back. And I think our kids were really excited to be able to go back after having a year off. And what was great this year is that they had enough room for us to take the 6th graders who didn't get to go last year, where they would have went on their 5th grade trip. So Mr. Gibson was able to take his students there as well. So
Yeah, so just touching on some of those pictures, you can see the archery one, but the one in the bottom, they're making pizza pies with the pie irons over a campfire. And then Mr. Hermensky's standing there. I don't know if he has a snake or a
toad
or something like that. I think it was a snake there. And then they're building their, what was the race called?
Nerdy Dirty.
Nerdy Dirty.
So they're cars and race them.
Cars out of the foam. And then some kids actually got to ride on horses. So it was just some different experiences for our kids.
And then here we're
They moved this up a couple of months from what it used to be. It used to be.
Well, yeah, when we went, Mr. Jacobosi, because I remember going with you, you had these big orange gloves. I remember it. I was the 6th grader. He was the chaperone.
Terrible.
Yeah, we used to go in January, February.
Oh, yeah.
And so now we were able to secure dates that were in the fall or in the late summer, which has worked out great because they were able to go fishing this year. The pool closes a week before we get there, but they were able to go fishing. Mrs. Liming loves to run candle making and butter making. Mr. Mullen teaches about the Lake Erie and the Great Lakes, and the depth charts that they have were really cool. And then they get to do some rock climbing as well. So we had a lot of fun. Mr. Korick and Mrs. Kinzer, student teacher, fished the entire time they were there, and they were only given, like, what were they using for bait at first? I don't remember what it was, but
Bread,
they
I
actually
think.
went, bread, I think, yeah. And the fish were not into it anymore after so many fishermen were coming through. So they would take turns going into the woods and turning over rocks to get worms. So the kids got really good fishing experiences, so it was pretty cool. And then academically, we had our 50 States Parade recently, which we thank Mr. Barbero's band for coming over and leading our parade. And parents were able to come to the back parking lot, and you can see some of the floats up here. They're so intricate. They put so much detail into all of the floats. So when the meeting's over, get a chance to kind of check them out. They're really cool, and they put a lot of thought into their parades and their states. So they learned all of the states this year, and then everybody was assigned a state that they had to do a report on and then create their own float for those. And they got pretty extravagant, but it was great parading them out in the back. And then Mrs. Beetler's class had a pretty awesome egg drop experiment that they had to package up the eggs and try and see what materials they could use to make them not break. And then Mr. Sospansky, Mrs. Kramer, and I got to go to the top of the roof and drop them off. And then we counted to see how they did. And the first class had like 7, and then by the second class, like 12 lasted. And then by the last class, I think they all did, right?
Right, every single one in the last class. It was a competition. I'd say, you know, how many broke in the class before, and I'd say, you gotta beat the last class.
Yeah. So it was fun to see what they did. I mean, really, it turned out, I felt like Mrs. Beetler, that you didn't have to have the parachute as much as you just had to pack it with a lot of stuff.
Right.
So they all tried to make it parachute-like, and even the ones that didn't have a parachute, if they had enough foam and bubble wrap and all that stuff, they lasted.
I thought I didn't like science, you guys. And now I'm finding out I really like science. And, you know, I taught math for 30-some years, and this year I decided to switch over to science and social studies, and I was like, well, the social studies part will be great, but I don't know about that science. And then this summer I started looking at all the science stuff, and I got excited.
Yeah, so it's been a lot of fun. So she's also looking for mystery scientists, so if anybody has a lesson that they wanted to come in and sign up to be a mystery scientist, she's kind of opened that up to all of her families and people that might have something that they want to do. And then this is just something, we got a new math program this year, and part of math, I went got them, part of math was, is this number corner activity. So when you, like, number corner starts and it's for a month long. And so the big joke was that for October in 5th grade, they needed carrots, like a big carrot and a small carrot. And they had no idea what was really going to happen with these carrots, but they had to have carrots. And you started the month and you had to weigh them. So you can see Mr. Mullen in the first picture, and he's holding up his carrots. Like, I don't know what this is going to happen with this, but we're going to measure these carrots. And so every day and every so many days, they're like weighing these carrots, and they're plotting that, or they're charting the carrots on a chart, like day 1 and then how much they weigh. So we're almost at the end of the month. You can see his really nice carrots there. These are his carrots right now. Okay, like I don't know if you can see that. It's just mold and like everything else, and they've just really shriveled up. So I'm sure that the idea is that obviously they lose all their moisture, and so they just become weighing way less. Like Mrs. Westgate is in that picture, and her carrot is left to 2 grams. And really, I don't know that it could get anything less than that. It started at like 38 grams. But what's cool about it is, yes, the kids think this is awesome, so they're really attentive because they're into like watching these carrots. But then what they did after a while, which I didn't know they were going to do, is then they put them on a grid, and then they're data plotting or putting them on data plots, right? So day 2, and then how many grams it weighs, and they're watching it go down and making this really cool like line plot. And the kids are really into seeing that, and then they're guessing to see like 8 days later where they think it's going to go, and they're making estimations on where they think it's going to end up, and then finding out what comes next. So it's been really cool to watch it, and you know, as we're walking around the building and checking in on all the classes, number corner is something that we see a lot. So it's great to watch the patterns that are happening in the classroom and listen to the math talk that's going on that wasn't necessarily present with our last program, and just see how much these kids are gaining from the program that we're currently using. So it's been really great. And that's the end of our report.
Great job.
Questions for Jill?
Thank you so much for the good news report, and I did want to mention too, thank you also for hosting us tonight. And I have to say, the room looks just like it did when we finished it, what was it, 3 years ago?
Yes, yeah, 3 years ago. We've taken really good care of it.
Yeah, this is worked out, as the board's aware, this is one of those things we partnered with the Nord PTO on kind of renovating this space. mini CLC. We have the CLC at the junior high and the high school, and this was kind of a mini CLC, and it looks great. So thank you so much for hosting us, and it's good to be back here.
Yes, thanks for coming.
You two keep it up, that's really good stuff. Thank you. All right. Is anybody signed in to address the board? No? Okay. Mrs. Giaffredo.
Good evening, board. Good evening, audience. Just wanted to go over the financial recap that I provided you this evening. I'll make it quick. Our revenue is up over $400,000 as of September last year. Our cash balance is up also over $1 million from last year. I would say most of this is the fact that we've received over $400,000 more to date this year than last year. And we've had so many different ESSER grant streams. The first one was $270, then the next one was $1.76, then the next one, ESSER 3, is $2,645,000. So that has enabled us to defray. We won't be in violation with the Department of Education if we supplant expenditures. That is, take expenditures out of the general fund that would normally be expended from the general fund and move them to these grant streams. So it's been a huge, we're at well over $4 million received from the federal government for ESSER and ARP. So I'll move on to my recommendations for this evening, if that's okay.
Please.
Item 1, or 8A, is to approve the minutes from the regular meeting of September 27th. Item B is for the board to approve the financials from the month of September. Again, you receive, as exhibits to the agenda, you receive the cash reconciliation, you receive a financial summary by fund and special cost center, you receive the forecast line item report, which matches the 5-year forecast lines, and then a monthly check listing. And you'll see that everything has our Amherst Commerce branding on it now. Item C are appropriations revisions. We ask for an appropriation this year for Special Olympics. And then the next two, 516, 9122, and 587, 9122. Those are new revenue streams, again, from the Department of Education, actually, the federal government. ARP is the American Rescue Plan, and one is Special Education IDEA grant, and the other is Early Childhood Special Education. And this was $174,000 and almost $13,000 that we weren't expecting. We just completed the budget for it today. And then the last one, 507-9122, is another new revenue stream. We are a subrecipient to the ESC, the Educational Service Center of Lorraine County, for this. It's ARP, American Rescue Plan, Homeless, which is typically part of the Title I grant. And again, we're the subrecipient, and the total grant is $921.57. And then item D are for the board to approve advances. You saw this last month. And what is happening is with our consolidated grant, it's funny how the department is so quick in approving these ESSER grants and American Rescue Plan grants, but our consolidated grant has not been finally approved yet. It's in peer reviewed status. So when they're in peer reviewed status, I am unable to process a project cash request for our negative amount. We only request the negative amount that we're in at the end of the month. So again, the board is approving an advance this month, just like they did on September 27th, and the following amounts. Item E, I wanted to let the board know that Steve and I, Mr. Sayers and I, are pulling this from the board this evening. This is the resolution that was to approve the tax increment financing with the city of Lorraine. There were just a couple of issues that we wanted to make sure that we were completely cognizant of. We spoke to our attorney from Ennis-Britton today. They did get us a new agreement, but we're just doing our due diligence. let's say for now, that we will bring this back to the board on November 15th. The agreement, the TIF, and the compensation sharing agreement with the city of Lorraine is to be identical to that which the board approved at the end of June. So again, we're just making sure, we're asking for a TIF area map, just like we had with the city of Amherst. So we will be bringing that back to the board. Was there anything you wanted to share with that?
You
Mr. Sayers?
captured it all.
So we will exclude item 8E, and then item 8F are the donations that you typically see on the agenda.
Two things. Number one, can we vote for letter F separately?
Yes?
And number two, maybe I'm not understanding, but item B, where you talk about your exhibits, the exhibits that we receive are numbered 9B, C, D, and E. And the agenda says 8, A, B, C, and D.
They should be 9, they should be 8A, B, C, and D. I apologize for that.
Janet's saying that
In the Google Doc?
I have the Google Doc in front of me that says 9,
Okay,
and the paper copy says 8.
I will correct those.
Okay.
They should be 8.
Okay, I just want to make sure that I was looking at the right document.
In this instance, it should match up with the item on the agenda.
Okay.
So, I'm
Okay.
sorry.
No, that's okay. I just wanted to be clear on that to make sure.
Now, clarify, you want the entirety of 8F separated, or you want just the first item?
The only thing that needs to be excluded is 8E.
Yeah,
We are
she's
pulling-
asking
I'm
us to
asking
vote.
for 8F to
She
be
wants
separate
8F
as
to
well.
be separate.
That's fine. So
Do you-
we
do you
can,
want both? You're not going to vote on either one of those?
You want the entirety of 8F, or just
Can
the
I
first?
can I do FA and FB or something
Yeah,
like that?
we can split it up.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah.
So to clarify, the motion will be basically, I'm not making, I'm clarifying. The motion will be to approve the treasurer's recommendations from 8A through 8F, excluding 8E, and excluding
The first
the
item
first,
of
the
F.
first component of 8F, which has to do with common athletic groups. That'll be voted on separately.
how about if we do 8A through 8D,
Yep.
and then 8F,
Separate.
1,
1 and 2.
and 8F, 2.
That's fine. So do I entertain, I'm going to entertain a motion for 8A through D.
Second.
Teresa, discussion. Roll call, please.
Mr. Zappa.
Aye.
Mrs. Gillis. Mr. Engel. Mrs. Snyder.
Aye.
Mr. Yakobozzi.
Aye. Now I'll entertain a motion for 8F 1. So moved.
Second.
Discussion, roll call.
Mr. Engel.
Aye.
Mrs. Gillis. Aye. Mrs. Snyder.
Abstain.
Mr. Zappa. Mr. Yakobozzi.
Aye. Motion for 8F 2. Mark? or
Second.
Valerie, discussion, roll call, please.
Mr. Zappa. Mrs. Snyder.
Aye.
Mr. Engel.
Aye.
Mrs. Gillis. Aye. Mr. Yakobozzi.
Aye. Mr. Sayers?
Thank you.
Thank you. Just
Thank you. Sorry about that.
one item. First of all, before I get to the one item that I had, just want to thank Amy for her various reports, financial reports that she provides, not just to the board, but to myself. And I know Amy knows I'm a former math teacher, and I like my numbers. So she provides me with multiple reports that helps us to stay on track financially. And as the board is aware, we are in a very, very good position financially. So we will have our 5-year forecast to present to you for your consideration next month, and certainly look forward to that presentation. So again, I wanted to thank Amy for these reports. Very, very important part of what we do. And the only item I had as part of my report, I just wanted to update the board in regards to the 2022-23 calendar. Typically, we recommend approval of the calendar at this meeting. But we, as you know, we work collaboratively with the staff in developing the calendar. One of the other things we're also doing as we look to next year, we're trying to coordinate one of our professional development days to match up with a county professional development day. So next year's calendar requires some additional coordination. The other thing we're looking at for next year is a full-scale safety drill, similar to what we've done in the past. Typically, we do those once every 3 years. So we want to make sure all those dates are in place and everything's ready to go. But we should have a recommendation for it next month. So again, I wanted to clarify that because typically we do have a recommendation in October, but we're taking a little bit of extra time to make sure we've got everything the way it needs to be. Mr. Molnar wants to make sure we've got those professional development days incorporated in there. So, and that completes my report this evening. Thank you.
Thanks, Steve. Mr. Molnar.
Yeah, so real quick, next slide, Joe, thank you. So last month I talked about how our instructional coaches are working with Ashland University to provide professional development for our teachers in equitable access through small group instruction. So I wanted to just touch base on, in the last few weeks, we have about 20 teachers who are attending letters training, which is language essentials for teachers of reading and spelling. It is professional development that we're doing over the course of the entire school year, and it's actually equivalent to 6 graduate credit hours. So there's 4 sessions they'll be doing all year, and there's also work in between each session, which it's excellent training. Not only are they going through it, but there's probably over 100 in the county teachers going through it. So it is really focused on the new research and the science of reading and what's happening, especially with the brain and how kids are learning. And there are some shifts in what we have done in the past versus what we want to do in the future with reading. So we have about 20 teachers doing that, and we're focusing on the co-service teams, which are our intervention specialists and our teachers that have students that are at risk or have learning disabilities, and so they are the focus this year. Steve mentioned some professional development days next year for the calendar. One goal of mine is if we can get those scheduled properly, really is to hopefully have 4 days throughout the year where we can have the rest of our teachers, K through 5 or read teachers, finish this training as well. So by the end of next year, all of our reading teachers will have that training. Part of the reason of kind of preparing for that, the next slide. Here's just another picture of, okay. Part of the reason for doing that is, we've added some new positions this year. We've added 2 literacy coaches and a math coach. And the focus is, of course, for those coaches to work with teachers to improve instruction in the classroom. To just do what we're doing, but do it even better. Which is a great investment, I thank the board for that, because those are new positions. And I think the public doesn't realize when we make an investment like that, 3 new coaches could, over a 5-year forecast, be anywhere from $500,000 to $1 million that we're asking the community to invest in. And so we want to make sure that we're getting the reward for that investment. Well, the coaches already in these first couple months, they've had hundreds of interactions with teachers. They're doing a phenomenal job. And so, go to the next slide. Yep. One of the things I want to mention is one of our literacy coaches, Erica Kaufman, she's actually traveling to Columbus right now. Tomorrow she's going to be in the parent spotlight for the Ohio Dyslexia Committee. And she's sharing her story of being not only a literacy coach here in Amherst, but she also has a child with dyslexia. And so the difficulty of that, and also being a coach, she's just sharing her experience tomorrow down in Columbus with that committee. Coming down the pike with that committee, there's going to be recommendations for professional development and training for teachers. So for example, a few years ago, the state added 60 hours of professional development for all teachers serving gifted students. I believe something similar is going to come down the pike for reading because of dyslexia, which is a great thing. And so I think we're trying to get ahead of the curve on that by, again, having 20 teachers now being trained in letters training, the new science of reading, and then focus next year on having hopefully all K-5 teachers trained as well, so that our teachers are going to be hopefully ahead of the curve and ready for not only just the requirements, but just doing what's best for kids, especially students that have dyslexia. So I'm just excited about what we're doing. I know it's a lot of work. Some of those teachers that went to letters training, they're also in the Ashland training. They're doing other coursework possibly. Some of those teachers are implementing a new math program in K through 3 if they're teaching more than one subject area. So they're taking on a lot this year, and then so I just kudos to all of them for that. It's a lot of work, but again, I'm just thankful to the board, the community for allowing us to implement these coaches, because without them, I mean, we wouldn't be able to do what we're doing and have the growth and the professional development we need for teachers. So I'm just grateful, and I know she's not here, she's probably in the car right now, but just wish Erica the best of luck. And I know she's doing a phenomenal job and represent Amherst very well. So if there are any questions, that ends my report for tonight.
Thanks, Mike. Well done. Sarah's not here, anything on her end? Okay. I'll go for Mr.
I haven't asked one question.
I know.
Mike looked at me like, nothing? Huh? JVS, just a quick update from the JVS. I'm sure that any of you that follow social media or look at any newspaper saw that we were on the headlines and back to the zoning issues, annexation with the city of Oberlin. However, the city of Oberlin had that on their agenda, their council meeting to vote on, not last week, but the week before, and had some difficulty electronically, so they tabled that, and it will be voted on the next time because I wanted to make sure that everyone could hear and understand what they were doing. So we are just kind of waiting to see what would happen there. As you know, it's been an ongoing situation for over 5 years or 6 years from that perspective. And so we don't know what the outcome of that will be yet at this point in time. At our board meeting last Thursday, we had a long discussion about levy, because you know the JVS has been on the verge of having levy on a couple, 2-3 times, and so I think that we're going to go in a different direction. I think finally they're listening to some board members and are going to hire someone to help direct and come up with a better campaign strategy than they've tried to do internally. So I don't know how that battle, and I think sometimes it will be a battle, just because of some of the board members there in that regard, from that perspective. So we will do that because, as we know, the building is not in the best shape because it's an old building. And we have had several people, family members from other communities, come and say that, you know, the appearance of your building is not appealing to trying to get people to come to it. And we understand that. However, again, getting everyone on board with that, because if you're going to leave a school district that has a new high school to come to the JVS, it probably doesn't send the same message from that perspective. And we had this discussion a couple years ago because someone on that board, another member, had suggested that we cost out what it would cost to build that building, because there's been a couple of there's been a couple of vocational schools that have built new buildings. And when the price tags come back a couple of years ago, they couldn't imagine that we would have to ask for the kind of money that we would need to do what we needed to do. So I think that they're getting on board with some of that stuff. But it was by far the best discussion that we've had about a levy since the last levy failed, because it kind of just died down from that perspective. So we'll see where we go from that perspective. But, and Firelands kind of spoke up and said that, you know, that they had tried their levy 2 times, 3 times with failure, and then listened to a certain school district, happening to be the Amherst school district, I think, about that they needed to hire some strategists and some people who knew what they were doing, and it certainly passed on the next time it was on the ballot. So I'm not sure who they will choose to go with. We gave some suggestions around the table for them to interview and talk with. So yes, Teresa, the cookie sales will be happening. I know that was going to be a question. The poinsettia sales will be happening. The services of the cosmetology department is open for outside people as well, so you can make your appointments and do whatever you need to do. Any questions regarding the JVS?
You answered my question.
Yeah, I answered mine.
Benefit Teresa.
As soon as the order form comes out, I'll forward it to you.
Thank you, Rex.
Thanks, Rex. Anything else on the report, Steve? Anything else? to be it. Okay, personnel recommendations, Mr. Sayers?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Jacobozzi. We have a number of personnel items here. I know the board has had an opportunity to review these agenda items prior to this meeting, and most of those items are fairly standard and straightforward for this time of year. I did want to highlight one item. Item J is a recommendation to increase our substitute teacher pay to $140 per day. Again, there is a significant shortage of substitutes across the board in all areas, teachers as well as classified positions, bus drivers. So actually districts across the county are making some changes, and this puts us in a very competitive position because we not only want to attract substitute teachers, but we want to attract quality substitute teachers. So I did want to highlight that item as that is a little bit different from typically we do our substitute rates in the summertime, but that is an adjustment that we're recommending. With that, we'd like to recommend approval of items 11A through 11L.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Support that.
Rex, any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Snyder?
Aye.
Mr. Engel?
Aye.
Mrs. Gillis?
Aye.
Mr. Zappa? Mr. Jacobozzi?
Aye. Education recommendations, Mr. Sayers?
Yes, just 5 items here, and we're actually going to break out item E and handle that one separately if we could. I think that's probably the best way to do that. Did want to just mention item C. As the board is aware, typically our fees are approved in the spring and oftentimes are included in our handbooks, but one of the things that we were able to do this year is we're actually, our family consumer science teacher is splitting her time between the high school and the junior high, so we were able to work in an additional elective to our junior high schedule. So that was done after the fees were determined. So again, that's a little bit unusual to see that this time of year, so I wanted you to have that background. And with that, I would like to recommend approval of item 12A through 12D.
Is there a motion?
Second.
Discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Zappa? Mrs. Snyder?
Aye.
Mr. Engel?
Aye.
Mrs. Gillis? Mr. Jacobozzi?
Aye. I'd like to entertain a motion for item A, 12E.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Engel?
Aye.
Mrs. Gillis? Mrs. Snyder?
Abstain.
Mr. Zappa?
Aye.
Mr. Jacobozzi?
Aye. Is this recommendation, Mr. Sayers?
Yes, just 3 items there. Just wanted to speak briefly about item B, beginning work with GPD. They are the selected architect through the Ohio Schools Council Consortium, which we're a member of, and as the board is aware, the GPD group did a great job with our elementary school, so we are in the initial stages of looking at a possible renovation of our old, what used to be our wood shop at the high school. We've been able to make some changes really across the district, so one of the things that we're really excited about is the potential that this space offers to provide a program that would actually feed into the program that's offered at LCC. So we want to collaborate with them as we move through this. Again, very preliminary stages at this point, but should have another update for the board next month. But again, wanted you to have that background that we're beginning the planning portion of that project. I'm very, very excited. I know we had a tour the other day. We went and visited another school district just to get some ideas. And a great team of teachers from the high school. In fact, Davis and Jan, our orchestra director, is also our robotics advisor. So he was with us. We had, of course, Amanda Sears, Stephanie Boggs, who you've heard present in other board meetings, and the great work that she's doing with the technology coursework at the high school. So again, we just had a lot of fun the other day just visiting. We actually went up to Hawken on the east side of Cleveland and saw some of the spaces that they have. So a lot of fun when you start looking at how we can do things to provide new and better opportunities for our students, and certainly looking forward to the way this unfolds. And with that, would like to recommend approval of items 13A through C.
So moved. Is there a second? Second. Discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Engel?
Aye.
Mr. Zappa? Mrs. Gillis? Mrs. Snyder?
Aye.
Mr. Yakobozzi?
Aye. Nothing else to come before the board. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call.
Mrs. Gillis?
Aye.
Mrs. Snyder?
Aye.
Mr. Engel?
Aye.
Mr. Zappa?
Aye.
Mr. Yakobozzi?
Aye. Thank you all.